Alright, so here's the game. Here's what we're doing this Saturday night. I love movies. I really do. But I think I have a problem that a lot of people have. You spend more time searching for what to watch than actually watching a movie. Then you kind of just scroll TikTok or watch some YouTube, fall asleep, and then it's Monday. And someone asks you what you did over the weekend, and you're like, not much. Well, at least this weekend I can say I watched a movie. So here's the deal. I'm going to make a wheel. 12 movies that I've wanted to watch for a while now, just sitting there collecting virtual dust on my watch list. Or until you finally want to watch one, you go to Tubi and it's no longer there, and then you have to rent it on Apple TV for $3.99. But you don't want to rent a movie because you don't like the time limit of having just 48 hours to watch it. So you buy the movie for $12.99, and then you feel bad for digitally buying a movie instead of physically buying it. Because what do you really own on Apple TV? What do you really own in this world? Anyway, I'm going to find 12 movies that I haven't seen, talk about why I want to watch them, put them in a wheel, spin the wheel, and then watch that movie this Saturday night. Then I'll talk about it here, review it, give my thoughts, and give it a rating out of 5. I like a good solid number out of 5. I feel like 10 is too much to get the vibe. And I don't like half ratings like 4.5 or 3.5, because if it's a 4, it's a 4. It makes a 5 out of 5 much more special. That does mean I end up giving a lot of well-received, 90% Rotten Tomatoes popular movies a 2 out of 5 because of this. But hey, if I do give a very popular movie a low rating, I'm ready for the consequences. I promise I'm not a pretentious film bro. I prefer to find the value in art. Alright, let's get to it. Let's scour my watch list in the deep recesses of movies I've saved and never seen. This could be anything, from popular blockbusters to cult classics to hidden gems to classics to movies widely considered to be absolute dog shit. Because sometimes these quote-unquote bad movies turn out to be great. No matter what it lands on, I'm committing to actually sitting with it. Pick 1 Metropolis, 1927. Okay, Pick 1 is an interesting start. From what I understand, the official story is that this was a massive, expensive production that was thought to be lost for about 80 years until it was rediscovered relatively recently. Now it can finally be watched in full. I remember hearing about that story years ago and always wanting to check it out, so it feels right to throw it into the wheel. Pick 2, Goldfinger, 1964. Man, this is already starting to feel like a real draft. This is fun. I've only seen a handful of James Bond movies, some Pierce Brosnan ones and a couple with the other guy. I forget his name. Oh, Daniel Craig. Yeah, I liked the Pierce ones, and I think I might actually enjoy the older school Bond films even more. I saw the trailer for Goldfinger on Netflix, and honestly, it just looks like fun. Pick 3, The City of the Lost Children, 1995. This movie looks insanely fantastical. I was scrolling through Ron Perlman's IMDb page and came across this random French film. My first thought was that it either looks incredibly boring or really, really good. There's no in-between with something like this. Pick 4, Noroi the Curse, 2005. I really like found footage films. There's something about watching something that feels like it could have been made by anyone with a few cameras, maybe even just phones, that really works for me. I've heard this is supposed to be one of the scariest movies ever made, so that alone earns it a spot. Pick 5, Fallen Angels, 1995. This movie just looks sexy. I saw the trailer on HBO a couple of months ago, and the name alone is incredible. Fallen Angels. 1995 feels like a time when people were cool and not afraid to be cool. At least that's what I assume, since I wasn't alive yet. Still, Fallen Angels. What a badass name. Pick 6, About Time, 2013. Honestly, this is a movie I technically tried to watch the year it came out. I think I made it about 15 minutes in. I was a kid back then, so I'm sure I stopped watching for some dumb reason, but I've always been curious about it, and I do love a good time travel movie. It'd be nice to finally sit down and actually watch it properly. Alright, let's take stock for a second. We've got some artsy picks, some popular ones, some international films, a pretty solid mix so far. Honestly, I'd be happy watching any of these tonight. Okay, let's keep going. Pick 7, The Crow, 1994. This looks like a dark but visually striking film. There's definitely something heavy surrounding the movie itself, and it feels like stepping into a darker space. Plus, it's been a while since I've watched a superhero or comic book movie. I actually bought the comic a few months ago. Still haven't opened it though. Pick 8, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, 2004. Jim Carrey is in one of my favorite movies of all time, Yes Man. And yeah, that probably tells you everything you need to know about my taste. I honestly can't believe I've never seen this movie, but it looks genuinely unique. So yeah, add it to the wheel. Pick 9, Tekken, 2010. Okay, I know this is widely considered a bad video game movie, but I don't know. I saw the trailer a while back and kind of want to see it. I'm curious, honestly. Come on, you boys aren't a little curious too? Pick 10, Seven Samurai, 1954. I'll be honest with you, I know almost nothing about Seven Samurai. I've just heard Vincent Chase name drop it once in Entourage, and I know the director is legendary. It's one of those movies people reference like you're just supposed to know it. 1954 is old. Not as old as Metropolis, I guess, but I am curious to see what makes this movie so revered. Alright, 2 picks left. Pick 11, Before Sunset, 2004. This is a tough one. I don't want to watch this movie. It's a sequel to Before Sunrise, which is a perfect 5 out of 5 for me. The ending was just perfect. I don't want to risk ruining that by watching the sequel. But at the same time, I don't want to miss out on what could be a second masterpiece from the same cast and crew. So if the wheel decides, then so be it. Pick 12, Starsky and Hutch, 2004. I really miss 2000s comedies, and I love a good buddy movie. Bad Boys, Rush Hour, that whole vibe. The list was starting to feel a little too highbrow, so this feels like the perfect way to round it off. Okay, so I'd say we have a decent mix. Definitely some heavy hitters like Seven Samurai, and then definitely some low hitters like Tekken. But hey, I stand by my stance of watching movies that are considered bad to try and find some gems. Some of my favorite movies are considered bad or low rated, but I digress. Anyway, now that I'm looking at the list, you do start to get attached to some and form a few favorites. It's pretty late at night, so I'd be kind of scared to watch Noroi, and also Seven Samurai is like 15 hours long, and I'm not really in the mood to read captions in a silent film. But the list is the list, and the wheel is the wheel. So let's put this wheel together now. Okay, moment of truth. I'm a little nervous and excited, to be honest, but it's time to spin the wheel and see what we get. And we get Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Huh, I kind of forgot that was even in there, to be honest. But okay, here we go. Tonight we're watching Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So let me get my pre-show thoughts out of the way. I've seen the trailers, I've heard it's a depressing movie. I do like a good Jim Carrey flick. As I said, Yes Man is one of my favorite movies ever. And I've seen his serious acting in the number 23 as well, so it's definitely an interesting pick. I'm not sure if I'm in the mood for a sad or depressing flick, but hey, the wheel's the wheel, and I did add it to the choices. So let's load up the movie, and I'll see you guys afterward. Oh wait, I have to buy this on Apple TV. It's not streaming. $15, you've got to be shitting me. Alright, it's bought, and now there's no backing out. Here we go. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. The film follows Joel Barish, a quiet and emotionally reserved man who discovers that his former partner, Clementine, has undergone a medical procedure to erase all memories of their relationship. In response, Joel decides to undergo the same process. As his memories are systematically removed, he is forced to relive the relationship in reverse, from its bitter end to its most intimate and joyful beginnings. What begins as an attempt to escape pain gradually becomes a confrontation with the value of memory, love, and whether forgetting is truly a form of healing. Spotless shine of the eternal mind, or whatever the fuck it's called. There's something to be said about art that exists primarily as a projection of misery. Relationship movies are, or can be, tricky. I think everyone's view on relationships is different based on their experiences. That's because relationships themselves can sometimes be a tricky thing. Someone can go through many a heartbreak, and someone else can fall in love and live happily ever after. Much like anything, it's our experiences in life that shape the way we view our world, shape the way we interpret art. Much like it shapes the way I interpret art, it shapes the view of the artist. How much misery is in his or her brushstrokes. I've always had a more optimistic outlook on life. Some might call that naive, especially since I'm still relatively young. But I do understand that life can knock you down. It can be cruel, unfair, and at times truly and undeniably complete fucking bullshit. Still, I believe how you respond matters. I don't admire the spiral into bitterness. I don't admire the posture of everything is dark and depressing because I got fucked over. I think the more admirable thing is to stand tall despite those adversities. It says more about the person who keeps his head held high in the face of darkness than the person who swallows in it. And I guess perhaps that's what delineates between the hero and the rest of us. It's easier said than done. It's easier to spiral and become jaded. And that's why the person who doesn't is a hero. And that's why the person who does is understood. Not condemned, but understood. Myself, I very much dislike a cynical outlook on relationships. I think people like to say, "Oh well, this is real, man. It isn't a fairy tale." And to me that just sounds like accepting the darkness, even if it's a small act. That philosophical disagreement is my main friction point with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Eternal Sunshine is fundamentally about a decaying relationship. Not really a complaint, just a disagreement with the ideology that a perfect relationship doesn't exist and that what starts beautiful will inevitably end in decay. Which isn't explicitly what the movie is saying, but it is what it symbolizes. From love to hatred, it really is an ugly thing. But I digress, because that's just the vehicle of the movie. The path it goes down is very much entertaining. The dialogue is often excellent.
Random thoughts for Valentine's Day 2004.
Opening with Random Thoughts for Valentine's Day 2004 is such a specific lyrical choice. It feels like something out of a Blink-182 lyric, instantly setting tone and mood. Jim Carrey is great here. He plays the shy, kind of quiet, but annoyingly so, guy very well, and it really shows his range and restraint. We do see some Jim Carreyisms bleed through here and there. I would say, though, he looks fucking great in this movie. That hairstyle, the disheveled look, A+, man. I don't know. I would say I'm less attached to the relationship because I genuinely just didn't buy it or feel emotionally attached to it. Kate Winslet does a great job as well. I just feel like their chemistry isn't amazing. It's okay, but not perfect. Like I mentioned before Sunrise earlier, the main characters of that movie meet on a train just like they do here, and that meeting speaks to me so much more than this one. That one was poetic, romantic, and full of potential, life, and love. This was okay. I get that it's not really their first interaction, but it is ours. I guess that's why I don't want to watch before sunset. I don't want to ruin the ideal. Alright, I feel like I've complained enough. There are a lot of things I really do like here. I love some of the earlier transition shots. When Joel walks from the Barnes& and Noble into a living room, that was pretty good. The entire concept of the film is solid. I appreciate how many threads they had to weave and keep track of in order to tell a compelling, cohesive, and complex story, which I think they do achieve despite my complaints. It was genuinely entertaining in how it develops. I remember this film being on those top 20 mindfuck movies lists back in the day, online or on Twitter or something, alongside Donnie Darko or American Beauty, and I can see why. I think it does a really good job visualizing how messy someone's head can be, what it's like to be inside your own mind. And the visuals just slowly get better and better. They do well visually to symbolize the message they're trying to get across, which I think will resonate deeply with people who appreciate that message. Some of the memory scenes are genuinely masterfully done. As Joel runs through collapsing memories, the distortion grows more intense, more unsettling. Some of it is borderline scary, in a good way. It's very well done, especially the final memory where the house is collapsing. That one I get. The feeling of wanting to go back to a time that was perfect, but knowing you don't belong there anymore, that you're not meant to, and the house collapsing around you. That scene alone is so good, and it definitely makes this film worthwhile. There are some subplots that are fine, and they all tie together cleverly in the end. I sort of like Mark Ruffalo and Kirsten Dunst in the film. I honestly buy them more than the main couple, but whatever. I'm also glad we got to see Kirsten Dunst in her underwear. I mean, it was visually, it was cinematically, it was moving on. Then the movie ends, and then it sort of keeps going, which would have been fine if it had a more definitive ending, but it doesn't. The last 10 minutes feel like a waste. It feels like you're watching DVD extras or some shit. All in all, it was a mixed bag for me. I did enjoy it for the most part. I was thoroughly entertained. It's fantastically acted and visually impressive, a poetic piece of film that I just didn't resonate with as deeply as I wanted to, which is probably more my fault than the movie's, but hey, it is what it is. I really did like that scene of them in New York with the elephants, though. It's a fine movie. I can see why a lot of people love it. For me, it gets a 3 out of 5. Thinking now, maybe Seven Samurai would have been better. No, I'm joking. I actually enjoyed this whole process. I enjoyed picking the movies, spinning the wheel, and committing to a film. I didn't enjoy paying $15 though. What the fuck? Anyway, I had a good time. If you had a good time, you can subscribe, and maybe we'll do this again, or something similar. All right, see ya, bye.